The warning. Ignored. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with light, sound, and arrogance. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in their seats, glowing symbols floating above their heads. Each race had its own mark of power, its own pride. But when the human delegation entered, the air grew colder. The Zyrak, tall creatures with armor-like skin, clicked their jaws together in amusement. Their leader, Governor Trask, leaned forward and spoke in a voice that echoed across the hall. "Humans, soldiers of chaos, destroyers of order," he mocked. "You think your guns make you strong, you think your numbers matter. But in the eyes of the galaxy, you are nothing more than pests." The chamber filled with laughter. Some species chuckled, softly. Afraid to anger the Zyrak, others openly joined the mockery. Their voices rose like a storm of insults, but the humans did not laugh. They sat in silence, their faces calm, but their eyes sharp like blades. Ambassador Cade, tall, stern, and dressed in the black suit of Earth's council, stood up slowly. The laughter died down as his footsteps echoed on the shining floor. He looked at the Zyrak leader, then at the other alien delegates. His voice was low, steady, and full of cold iron. "You mock us today," he said. "But know this, humanity does not give warnings twice." Gasps filled the hall. The silence after his words was heavy, even crushing. Some aliens shifted in their seats nervously. A few even lowered their eyes. But the Zyrak roared in laughter. Trask slammed his clawed fist on the table and hissed, "Threats from insects, empty air. Your kind should bow, not speak." Ambassador Cade did not answer. He simply turned and walked out of the chamber. The rest of the human delegation followed without a word. Their silence was louder than any shout. For a long moment, the council chamber was still. Then the laughter returned, but weaker this time, not as strong as before. Whispers spread among the other species. They had heard stories, old stories, stories of colonies defended by humans where even death did not stop them, stories of soldiers who fought until their last breath. But the Zyrak did not believe. To them, humans were weak. To them, humanity was only flesh and fire, easily crushed by armored skin and sharpened claws. They saw no threat, only prey that dared to speak too loudly. 2 weeks later, the spark came. The human colony of Ardent Reach sat on the edge of the Zyrak border, a peaceful place with farms, schools, and families. At sunrise, Zyrak warships entered the skies. The ground shook as thunder rolled across the valley. The humans fought. Yes, but they were outnumbered. The colony fell in fire. Before the last defense tower went silent, a mother's voice escaped on a weak transmission. Her voice was broken but strong. "Tell them," she said. "Tell Earth we will not forget." Then the signal died. The Zyrak called it a victory. They celebrated in their stone halls, drinking and roaring. They believed they had proven their power. They believed they had erased human pride. But far away on Earth, the words of Ambassador Cade returned to the Council's mind. Humanity does not give warnings twice. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy noticed something strange. Human fleets were quiet. They did not protest at the Council. They did not ask for justice. They did not cry for help. Instead, they moved silently. Systems reported sightings of massive ships leaving dry docks, convoys of supplies disappearing into dark space. Communication went silent. Scouts from minor species spoke of shadows in the void. They said they had seen warships so large they blocked out starlight. They said their radios screamed with interference before going dead, but no proof was left behind. The Council argued. Some claimed humanity was planning something. Others said it was fear talking. The Zyrak laughed the loudest. They said humanity was broken. They said Earth was too weak to answer. But in the dark silence of space deep beyond the stars, the human fleets gathered. Their engines burned like silent fire. Their soldiers sharpened their blades and loaded their weapons. The Zyrak had ignored the warning. And soon, the galaxy would see the price. The spark of war, the smoke of Ardent Reach still lingered in the minds of humanity. Images of burning homes and ruined schools flashed across every hidden screen on Earth. The attack was not just an insult. It was a scar carved deep into human pride, but the galaxy misunderstood silence. They saw no shouting, no angry declarations. To them, Earth looked broken. To them, humanity looked weak. The Zyrak were the first to laugh, their booming voices echoing across the council chambers. The pests hide in their holes, they said. They bleed once and they crawl away. But the humans did not crawl. They prepared in the silent halls. Beneath Earth's oceans, fleets were called back from far stars. Commanders reviewed battle plans stored for decades. Old strategies refined in secret. In mountain bases hidden under ice, engineers worked day and night building weapons no alien had ever seen. Soldiers trained harder, longer, until their muscles burned and their eyes turned cold. Humanity was not silent from fear. Humanity was silent from focus. On the Zyrak homeworld, the victory feast stretched for weeks. They displayed captured human weapons, broken helmets, even the burned remains of Earth's colony flags. Their warriors drank the blood wine of conquest, roaring their pride. See? Governor Trask shouted to his people. The humans are nothing. They fall before our strength. His words thundered across the city, cheered by millions. But in the quiet corners of the galaxy, rumors began to grow. A merchant ship from the Rayleigh system told of a shadow that swallowed the stars. Its captain, pale and shaking, whispered in taverns. We saw them, human ships black as night. They moved without sound, engines dead yet glowing like embers. They watched us and then vanished. His words spread like fire. Other whispers followed. A scout from the Veyron fleet returned screaming. His last transmission burned into comms across 5 systems. It's here. It's huge. Then, silence. The council dismissed these as lies. Stories, they said, fear makes fools. But in their eyes was doubt, and doubt is more dangerous than belief. Back on Earth, the people were not shown the truth. Families mourned their lost loved ones, but no news of retaliation was given. Leaders kept the silence. Mothers and fathers whispered to children, "Stay strong," but none of them knew what their soldiers were building. The spark came again, and this time it was not small. The Zyrak launched a second raid, this one deeper into human space. They thought Earth was still weak, still licking its wounds. They struck the colony of Haven's Gate, a mining world rich in resources, expecting another easy victory. But Haven's Gate was different. The people there had prepared. When the Zyrak ships entered orbit, they were met with a wall of fire. Human defense cannons screamed into the sky. Fighters swarmed like hornets. Even civilians took up arms. The battle lasted 3 days. The colony fell, yes, but not in silence. Every Zyrak ship was scarred, every soldier bloodied, and one last message escaped before the world was burned. The voice of a young soldier gasping for air. "Tell Earth, we fight to the last, we fight for ardent reach, we fight for all." Then his voice was cut. The Zyrak celebrated again, but their joy was thinner. Their losses were greater. Their ships returned damaged, their armies limping, yet they roared, convincing themselves of victory. The council finally stirred. Some species whispered, "This is dangerous. Humanity will not forgive forever." Others said, "No, they are already broken. Let the Zyrak finish the work." But all of them remembered Ambassador Cade's words, "Humanity does not give warnings twice." In the dark of space, humanity moved. No fanfare, no announcement, just shadows slipping across the void. Fleets vanished from sensors, black ships gathered at forgotten outposts, commandos trained on barren moons waiting for orders. And then, one night in the void, the first strike fell. A Zyrak outpost on the edge of the Orion Rift went silent. Not destroyed with fire, but erased with precision. Its soldiers vanished, its weapons stolen, its signals cut. Only a single message was left, written in human code across the broken comms tower. "We remember." The galaxy trembled. The silent march. The galaxy was used to noise. Armies marched with banners. Fleets sailed with horns of war. Victories were sung in endless songs. But when humanity began to move, there was no sound, no speeches, no warnings, no drums of battle, only silence. The stars themselves seemed to dim as black ships slipped out of their hidden docks. each vessel larger than anything most alien eyes had ever seen. They moved together like predators, patient and calm. Merchants whispered of convoys vanishing in the void, entire caravans lost without distress signals. Scouts claimed to see human ships drift by without engines burning. Dead, like corpses, one survivor cried, yet alive, watching us, waiting. The council dismissed these as drunken lies, but unease spread. The Zyrak did not care. They stood tall in their arrogance. Governor Trask called humans cowards. If they had strength, they would strike openly, he roared before his court. Their shadows mean nothing, the Zyrak cheered, their claws rattling against stone. But even among them, quiet doubt began to grow. For the shadows were real. The first proof came from the Rim Nebula. A Zyrak patrol of 5 warships entered the cloud of dust and light. Only one returned, its hull torn, its crew pale with fear. The captain could not speak without trembling. His last words before collapsing were, "We fired everything, but it didn't matter. They came from all sides. They didn't even answer our hails. They just—" His voice broke, and the council chamber fell silent. The report spread quickly. Rumors painted pictures darker than truth. Some said humans had weapons that melted ships from the inside. Others said human soldiers boarded silently, leaving nothing but empty husks behind. A few whispered of voices carried on comms, whispers in the dark that drove crews mad. Humanity never corrected these rumors. They let fear do its work. Meanwhile, inside human fleets, silence was discipline. Captains gave orders with hand signals. Pilots flew with lights dimmed. Soldiers drilled without speaking. They moved like ghosts, learning to kill without a sound. To the humans, this was not war. This was justice. On the edge of known space, the Zyrak tried to strike again. Their fleet entered a mining sector once used by humans, expecting to find only ruins. Instead, they found emptiness, empty stations, silent asteroids. Then their sensors went blind. Black ships slid out of the dust, massive, armored, and cold. The Zyrak opened fire, their beams cutting through space, but the humans did not reply. They advanced slowly, like a storm, absorbing the fire. And then, all at once, they struck. The Zyrak screamed as their ships were torn apart. One by one, their cruisers exploded in silence, the soundless void devouring their cries. A single survivor broadcast one final message before his ship was cut in two. They fight like machines, like shadows. There is no fear in them, no mercy. Then nothing. The council could not ignore it anymore. Fear rippled through every chamber. What if they come for us next? Whispered a delegate from the Veyran. What if their silence is not only for the Zyrak? But no one dared speak against them, for all remembered the warning. Humanity does not give it twice. On Earth, the people finally began to sense the truth. Soldiers returning home were harder, colder. Mothers looked into the eyes of their sons and daughters and saw shadows there. Families whispered, "Our fleets are gone, but not destroyed. They are hunting." The Zyrak demanded the council declare humanity a threat. They shouted in anger, their jaws clashing. "They erase us in the dark," but the other species stayed quiet. They had seen the reports, they had heard the whispers. No one wanted to challenge humanity now. The silent march continued. Each day more Zyrak fleets went missing. Each week another colony vanished from their maps. Cities once bright went dark, leaving only silence. And always, at the edge of destruction, one message appeared, written in burning human code. "We remember." The words became a curse, a prayer and a promise. Aliens began to whisper it in fear. Even the council members lowered their voices when they spoke of humanity, and somewhere, deep in the void, human fleets waited for the final order. The galaxy now understood. The humans were not marching with noise. They were marching with silence, and silence was more terrifying than any roar. The first blow. The galaxy had grown used to whispers, ships gone missing, colonies erased, and shadows in the void. But still, no one had seen the humans strike openly. Some leaders hoped it was only rumors. Others prayed it was only Zyrak lies. That hope ended at the Rim Nebula. The Zyrak sent a grand fleet, 300 warships strong. Their engines blazed as they cut across the stars. Their banners of conquest lit the void. Governor Trask himself ordered the attack. His voice thundered over comms. "Erase them. Show the galaxy our power." His warriors roared, believing victory was certain. For days, they hunted through the nebula, finding only silence. They mocked the humans again, calling them ghosts, too afraid to fight. But then the stars dimmed. At first it was only a shadow, a line across the mist of the nebula. Then more shadows appeared, massive and black. Human warships, hundreds of them, slid out of the dust. Their hulls swallowed light. Their weapons glowed faintly, silent but deadly. The Zirak laughed. "Finally," they cried, "the cowards show themselves." Their cannons lit up space, beams of fire lancing toward the human ships. The void shook with energy, explosions bursting across the nebula, but the human ships did not break. They advanced through the storm, shields burning, armor glowing, yet never slowing. Like a wall of iron, they moved forward. Their silence was more terrifying than any roar. Then the first blow came. Human cannons fired, beams sharper than knives, cutting through Zirak armor like paper. Whole warships split in half, drifting apart into the mist. Fighters swarmed from human carriers black as shadows. They moved faster, sharper, deadlier than anything the Zirak had ever faced. The battle turned in minutes. Zirak formations broke apart. Captains screaming into comms. "They're everywhere, they're cutting us down." A cruiser tried to retreat, but a single human destroyer chased it down, shredding it with precision fire. A battleship turned its cannons, only to explode from the inside as human commandos boarded silently. In the chaos, the Zirak called for the council. They sent desperate messages. "Help us. Humanity is here. They are destroying everything." But no help came. The council chambers stayed silent. No one dared interfere. On the battlefield, the humans pressed forward. The last transmissions from Zirak crews were filled with terror. "They don't stop. They don't speak. They—" Static swallowed the rest. Within hours, the great Zirak fleet was gone. The nebula was quiet again, filled only with drifting wreckage. And in the middle of the silence, human ships stood untouched, their weapons cooling, their hulls dark. A single human broadcast echoed across the system. Just 4 words, cold and sharp. "The first blow lands." The message spread across the galaxy in seconds. Planets trembled. Leaders whispered. Even the proudest species lowered their voices. If this was only the first blow, what was coming next? Back on Earth, silence remained. Families did not celebrate. Soldiers did not cheer. The war was not for glory. It was for memory, for vengeance. Every soldier carried the same words in their hearts. "We remember." Governor Trask raged in his palace. His claws tore through stone. His voice roared across the halls. "They are demons, shadows. They strike without warning, but they will bleed. We will make them bleed." But even his own warriors no longer believed. They had seen the nebula. They had seen the first blow. In the council, fear grew heavier. One delegate whispered, "If this was their regular army, what happens when they unleash more?" Another said, "No one survives crossing them, not even the Zirak." And so the galaxy watched, silent, waiting for the next strike, because everyone knew now, humanity had only just begun. The unveiling of special forces, the Rim, nebula lay in ruins. Zirak ships drifted as broken metal, their crews gone, their voices silent. The galaxy thought it had seen the full strength of humanity. The council whispered that the humans had revealed their power. But they were wrong. What they had seen was only the surface. Deep beneath Earth's mountains, hidden in chambers sealed for decades, the real preparation stirred. Not fleets, not armies, but something else. The special forces, units, that did not exist in records. Soldiers whose names were erased even from Earth's history. They were trained not to fight battles but to end wars. While the Zirak licked their wounds, celebrating lies of survival, these soldiers moved. They wore black armor that absorbed light. They carried weapons silent and sharp. Each one was a shadow. Each one was a storm contained in flesh. The first sign came on the Zyrek colony of Branth. The planet was strong, filled with walls of stone and iron, defended by thousands of warriors. At dawn, its skies were clear. At dusk, the city was silent. No explosions, no bombardments, only silence. The next day, scouts entered and found every weapon destroyed, every leader missing, and every wall marked with 2 words. "We remember," the Zyrek roared in panic. How could an entire world fall without a single blast? How could cities vanish in one night? They searched but found no enemy, no trace. Only whispers in the dark. The council could not explain it. "How is this possible?" delegates asked. "No army can do this." But one older alien, his voice shaking, whispered the truth. "It is not their army. It is something worse. Humanity has sent their ghosts." In the shadows of the Zyrek capital, the truth struck again. Governor Trask awoke one night to find his guards gone, his chambers filled with silence. And in that silence he heard footsteps. A human soldier stood at the edge of his throne, black armor glinting faintly. The soldier's voice was cold, calm. "This ends tonight." Trask screamed, his claws slashing. His guards rushed in, but the soldier vanished like smoke. Only the message remained, burned into the throne itself. "We remember." Fear spread faster than fire. The Zyrek stopped boasting. They locked their doors. They searched their skies, but the humans did not come with fleets this time. They came in shadows. Entire command stations went dark overnight. Zyrek generals were found with no wounds, only fear frozen on their faces. Supply chains collapsed as human forces took them apart piece by piece. No one could track them. No one could fight them. The council begged for answers. Some species demanded Earth stop, others argued in silence. But when humans walked into the chamber, they said nothing. Their silence was sharper than any words. The galaxy realized something terrifying. The battles in the nebula, the fleets of war, those had been only humanity's regular soldiers. What was moving now? What was erasing? Colonies in silence were not regular soldiers. They were something far more dangerous. The name spread quietly, whispered in fear. Special Forces. One Varen trader spoke of them in hushed tones. "I saw them. 3 shadows walking on the surface of a burning world. No ships, no noise, just 3. And when they left, an entire army was gone." Stories grew like nightmares. Some said the soldiers could breathe in space, others said their eyes glowed like fire. One rumor claimed a single squad could take down a fleet. Humanity never confirmed or denied any of it. They let the galaxy believe. And belief was worse than truth. Governor Trask raged against the fear. His claws tore through his own halls. He shouted to his people, "They are only flesh, they can bleed, they can die." But his voice no longer carried power. His own people whispered behind. "Hymns, if regular humans fight like demons, what are these?" The Zyrek Empire began to crack. Planets refused to answer calls, fleets deserted, leaders vanished. They were not only losing battles, they were losing their will. And humanity had not yet spoken a single word of surrender. The galaxy now understood. The first blow was not the end, it was only the door. And behind that door came the Special Forces, unseen, unstoppable, unforgiving. And wherever they passed, one message remained, carved into stone, burned into metal, whispered into the dark. "We remember." The fall of the Zyrek. The galaxy had feared it, but none dared believe it would come so quickly. The Zyrek Empire, once proud and loud, was now shrinking into shadows. Their fleets were broken, their colonies silent, their leaders vanishing one by one. Humanity's message burned across the stars. We remember. Now the march was heading for the Zyrek capital. The capital world, Zyrikar Prime, was a fortress carved from stone and fire. Black mountains surrounded the cities. Towers of steel pierced the clouds. It had never fallen, not in 1,000 years. Its skies were guarded by fleets of iron, its ground filled with millions of soldiers. The Zyrek believed no enemy could ever breach it, but they had never faced humanity. The first sign came without sound. The stars above Zyrikar Prime dimmed. Shadows stretched across the sky, and the people looked up in terror. Human warships, vast and silent, filled the heavens. They did not fire, not at first. They simply hovered, a wall of black steel blotting out the sun. Panic spread across the capital. Families rushed into bunkers. Leaders screamed orders. Fleets scrambled to launch. But for every Zyrak ship that rose, 3 human ships appeared in the void. Their formations were flawless, their movements like one living machine. Governor Trask stood on his balcony, his claws shaking. "They dare," he hissed. "They dare bring their fleet here." But even his own generals would not meet his eyes. They had seen too much. They knew the end was near. Their council chamber of the galaxy fell into silence. No one spoke. No one moved. Delegates stared at the broadcasts with wide eyes. The Zyrak had begged for help, but not a single species sent aid. No one wanted to stand between humanity and its vengeance. And then, the first strike fell. Human fleets opened fire, beams of light cutting through the skies. Zyrak defenses crumbled. In minutes, towers collapsed, hangars exploded, fleets burned before they could even form lines. The ground shook as human dropships descended. From them came the special forces, silent and black. They moved through the cities like shadows, their blades flashing in the dark. Zyrak soldiers roared in defiance, but their roars turned to screams. Every barricade fell, every wall shattered. The humans advanced without mercy. Governor Trask tried to rally his people. He screamed across every channel, "Fight, fight them. We are the Zyrak, we do not kneel." But the voices that answered were broken. "They are already here," one soldier whispered before his line went dead. "They are inside the palace," and another cried. Then silence. The fall was not loud. It was not glorious. It was cold and quiet, like the slow closing of a door. Hours passed, and the mighty capital of Zyrakar Prime was nothing more than smoke and silence. At last the palace itself was breached. Trask stood on his throne, his claws dripping blood, his eyes wide with rage. A single human stepped forward, armored in black. The soldier's voice was calm, almost gentle. "This ends." Trask lunged, his claws slashing through the air. But the human moved like shadow, silent, precise. In seconds, the throne room was empty. The governor's roar was gone, replaced only by silence. When the broadcasts resumed, the galaxy saw what had happened. The palace of Zyrakar Prime stood in ruins, and carved into its shattered gates were the words that had haunted the galaxy for months. "We remember." The council chamber fell silent. No one laughed, no one mocked. For the first time in history, the entire galaxy was united in one feeling: fear, because humanity had not just defeated the Zyrak. They had erased them, their fleets gone, their colonies destroyed, their name written only as a warning. The council ambassador of Earth stepped into the chamber the next day. He spoke only one sentence, his voice calm, steady. "They crossed us. They are erased." And then he left. No one dared to follow. No one dared to speak. For every species understood. This was not just the fall of the Zyrak, it was a lesson written in fire and silence. The galaxy now knew crossing humanity meant extinction. The lesson of fear. The war was over. The Zyrak were gone. Not defeated, not beaten, but erased. Their fleets were wreckage, their cities smoke, their name carved into ruins. In every corner of the galaxy, whispers spread. Humanity had done what no species dared imagine, and they had done it without mercy. The Galactic Council chambers remained silent for days. Delegates sat in their seats, eyes downcast, afraid to even breathe too loudly. No one laughed, no one mocked. The memory of the human ambassador's words hung in the air like chains. "They crossed us, they are erased." On the border worlds, fear became law. Merchants who once cheated human traders now lowered their prices. Captains who once mocked human fleets now gave them wide paths. Soldiers of other empires looked at humans with new eyes filled not with scorn but with caution. Because they all knew humanity did not bluff, humanity did not roar, humanity remembered. In the ruins of Zyrakar Prime, the smoke had not yet cleared. The palace lay broken, the throne empty. Across its gates, still glowing from heat, the words remained. We remember. No one dared remove them. No one dared approach. The ruins stood as a warning, a monument. Of silence across the galaxy, young cadets whispered among themselves. If regular humans fight like demons, one asked, what are their special forces? No one answered because no one wanted to imagine the truth. On Earth there were no celebrations. Soldiers returned home, their eyes darker than before. Families embraced them. But in every hug, there was silence. For humanity had not fought for glory. They had fought for memory, for vengeance, for the voices lost in fire, and vengeance does not taste sweet, it tastes like ash. Still, the galaxy did not know this. To them, humanity had become a storm, a shadow too dark to cross. And so they bowed in silence, not with chains, not with treaties, but with fear. Ambassador Cade returned to the council weeks later. The chamber was packed, delegates watching with trembling hands. He stood in the center, his voice calm, his face unreadable. We asked for peace, he said. We were mocked, we asked for respect, we were attacked. Now we ask for nothing. But remember this, humanity will not be crossed again. No one spoke. No one dared challenge him. Even the bravest leaders lowered their eyes. And then he left, his footsteps echoing in the silence. From that day forward, the Xerac name was struck from records. No monuments, no songs, no stories. Their entire history was gone. The galaxy pretended they never existed, but in quiet halls and shadows, one memory remained. A warning across the stars, in every port, in every academy. One phrase was whispered like prayer. Do not cross humanity. Children of other races grew up hearing the tales. Tales of black ships that blotted out suns. Tales of shadows that walked through cities and erased armies. Tales of words burned into walls. We remember. Generals of alien fleets studied the battles in silence. They copied human tactics, they trained harder. But none of them truly believed they could stand against Earth. The lesson was too sharp, too deep. Humanity had shown them the truth. And in the deep dark, humans continued their silent march. Not of war, but of vigilance. Their fleet still waited in shadow, their special forces still trained. Humanity had not unleashed everything. They had only revealed enough. Enough to erase a species, enough to remind the galaxy now, lived with a truth carved into their hearts. A truth no council would ever dare test again. Humanity does not give warnings twice.